Winner of the 2010 Tony Award for Best Play, Red is an intelligent, funny, and scintillating work about one of the greatest artists of the 20th century, Mark Rothko. This searing play speaks beyond the soul of the artist, and more notably, to all whose creative ambitions drive the desire to be understood. Here to talk about this upcoming production are actors Jay Duffer and Joshua Cookingham. Thank you, gentlemen, and welcome back to Arts Weekly.
Thank you.
We're old friends on this live show.
We are.
We just did this a little while ago, didn't we?
Yeah, last fall for The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Which went well, I hope?
It did. Yeah,
Good.
it went very
Good.
well. Big
Probably
success.
sold out with a title like that.
Absolutely.
And now we're on to a drama of dramas.
Oh, yes.
Red.
Yes.
And it's about the artist Mark Rothko.
Correct.
Which you are playing.
I am, yes.
And before we get into that, Jay, you are what at Huntington University? You are...
I am associate professor of theater, and I'm also the department chair. I'm in my 6th year now of teaching at Huntington University.
2 hats. Now
Yes.
3.
Yes.
As an actor.
Yes.
What made you decide to act in Red?
I think I'm always on the other side. And the opportunity came as we start to look at seasons and look and see who our students are, what kind of plays we can look at doing. It just seemed like the right time. And I saw the play on Broadway in 2010 with Alfred Molina and Eddie Redmayne. Mm-hmm. It left an indelible impression upon me, and so I always loved it. I knew it was out there. And I had several, I've got a lot of good men in my department this year, and so I just knew it would be a good fit.
Right.
And we've got 3 shows that are heavy casts. Mm-hmm. This one's small. Mm-hmm. A smaller, shorter rehearsal period, so it made sense.
Yeah, sometimes as chairs, when I was chair, you've got to find that piece that fits in between the big show and the big set and the costly costumes,
Right.
and we still want to have something on our season.
Right.
But you're also a professional actor.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is right in your wheelhouse. You just haven't been doing it at Huntington University.
Yes.
You did a lovely production here at First Presbyterian Theater a couple of years ago, and you travel most summers, I think, and work professionally.
I do. In fact, I'm already contracted for the summer, fortunately, so
Yeah, right.
I'm living the dream again.
Good for you. That's right.
So,
well, that's what happens when you go to New York as an actor and as a director. I'll see a play and I'll have that same thing. I got to do that play someday.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this opportunity. And Josh Cookingham, welcome. You are playing the young entrepreneur apprentice, if you will, of Mark Rothko.
Yes, I play Ken, his assistant.
Mm-hmm. And so I did wonder how much of this is actually autobiographical.
It's semi-autobiographical. He was commissioned to paint the Seagram murals. That is true, and the commission at the time was $35,000, which I believe is equivalent to a couple million by today's standard. And he did turn it down. So, spoiler alert, but,
Yes.
That is historically accurate. But I think
Ken didn't exist.
Yeah, Ken is fictional.
Well, probably Ken is fictional, but most artists of that era who made it to the heights that he did had assistants who sort of worked for him. So I can imagine that there was a lot of folklore out there, if you will, about his relationship with his assistants and his apprentice, because most artists of that level had assistants.
And he'd have to. The canvases, some of them were
So large.
huge.
Yeah. Well, what excites you about Red?
I think what excites me the most about Red is the conversation of art that takes place during it, and what's fascinating about it being a 2-character play and having these 2 characters be separated not only by years but by genres of art. Mark Rothko's abstract expressionism, Ken is more of the pop art movement, is the different opinions that each one brings to the table and the different arguments they bring, and how both want to be heard, both need to be heard, and neither one of their mediums that they use is any less valid than the other. And that's what I love about this play.
And Jay, what challenges are you finding acting with your students?
It's actually, Josh and I have had 4 years together now, and so there's a great comfort level stepping into this rehearsal process. The challenge is with the role itself.
Right.
It is a daunting task for both of us, and not to mention just the amount of dialogue, but where I am so unlike Rothko, and I need to make up the difference. But I think where we connect a lot, and I connect with the character, and more specifically, is his ideas about art, the truths that John Logan, the playwright, puts out there. I believe in these things that he's saying, these great things about art. So I've connected that way, but it is challenging. It's just a tough piece of theater.
Does the playwright Logan make those comments through he makes them through the conflict, doesn't he? I mean, they don't really, neither of them really, well, I take that back. They do pontificate a great deal. I should take that back. They pontificate a great deal in this play. But the conflict that both of the views have bring out Logan's idea a little bit, I think, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Rothko pontificates quite more than Ken.
Yes.
But the arguments, as he said, these two viewpoints coming together, there's truths on both sides. And sitting back and letting an audience member let that wash over you is quite profound.
And what's it like for you, Josh, to be acting with your teacher, who's been your teacher for 4 years, apparently?
Yeah, that was one of the first things that struck me as, well, first off, it's one of the reasons why, it's also one of the reasons why I wanted to do it, because I respect Jay as a teacher and as a mentor, and I really wanted to get on that level and have that challenge to rise up to, of working with a professional actor who's been teaching me all this time. It's great because it gives me so much to work with. It gives me something to rise up to and meet the investment that the character requires. So it's always exciting trying to play off of him every time I come into the space and start working.
There's no hiding when there's two actors on stage.
No.
I mean, there's just no getting away for a minute to figure out where you are in the play. You just have to get that rope between you and hold it taut, don't you?
Yeah. And Josh is being modest. I'm learning from my students as well, which is very exciting.
Yes.
To be able to be in this position with a student and a student that I respect. So I'm thrilled to be in this position.
How long have you been in rehearsal?
We've been in rehearsal for about a month and a half.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's a nonstop. There's no intermission.
That's correct.
It's about a 90-minute play. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right. So, boy, curtain up. Time to go.
Yep.
And where are you performing it?
We are performing this on Huntington University's campus in our smaller space, which is called the Studio Theater, which is a converted black box. And it's very limited seating. Usually it seats 125, but due to the set design, it's down to 80 seats. But we are running it for 2 weekends, so there should be plenty of opportunities for folks that want to see it to come see it.
You don't normally run 2 weekends?
Not all things.
You don't, not all things.
But
no.
this year we're running everything for 2 weekends.
Right.
Yeah.
Why does the set interfere? What is the set? Talk to me a little bit about that. If you've decided to take some seats out for it, what is the approach? And who's doing the set?
My colleague, Jonathan Hicks, is doing the set design. It's because Rothko was in his own. He was in basically a high school basketball court. And his studio was down in the Bowery in New York City. Well, our studio has a studio feel to it. So the set's very minimal, but we have brought in an alumni who is a 2012 graduate who's a gifted painter. Her name is Kendra Kendall, because you are allowed to paint reproductions of the Seagram murals. And so...
do you think that came about from the play, or do you think people have always been able to do that?
Oh no, from the play. They're very strict copyright laws in terms of what you can and can't do with them. So,
but you're given right to do that.
Yes, you are.
When you're getting the rights of the play.
Yes, absolutely.
You're given the
you
rights
get those
to.
rights
Okay,
to
that's
do
what I'm
that.
wondering. Yeah.
So we needed someone that really had an eye that could duplicate a Rothko portrait. So we've brought her. So the stars of our set are those pictures in various positions.
But you're talking about a painting.
Yes.
You're talking about a painting that's red.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, you want to take that?
Because it's a little bit, the audience has to buy into some stuff here.
Yes,
yeah,
they do.
I mean, the idea of red is this sort of idea of, because one of the things Rothko fears is the color black, and how he's concerned that black as an ideal, as sort of a force of death, of decay, is going to overtake his work and make him obsolete. So red represents the vibrant emotion, it represents the artistry, it represents the passion. And so basically, even though, yes, it's about a painting, it's about a color, it's more about an ideal. It's more about not becoming obscure and living your art.
And Logan has these great words that are recurring throughout: pulsating, vibrant, these kinds of things. And the characters themselves pulsate. Our characters pulsate between extremes of level-headed conversations to just rants and almost Greek-like tirades of spewing out what we believe art is. So it's really terrific to be in that kind of creative space.
And if I'm not mistaken, the actual canvas that they're talking about isn't usually on the set, is
Correct.
it? It's an imaginary canvas that, that you refer to, that the audience is asked to buy into, the willing suspension of disbelief, if you will.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, and placed in the audience so that action is toward the audience.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Are we memorized and ready to go? And
Just about, yeah.
Just about.
We open next week, so we better be.
Great.
And Tom Hoffrichter is directing.
Oh, Tom is directing.
Yes.
Tom, who is the executive director of First Presbyterian Theater here in Fort Wayne.
Yes.
Now, he's on your faculty.
He is, yes,
An adjunct.
he teaches adjunct our history classes. And he and I have been good friends for several years now, and it's an honor and a thrill to be working with him.
And what's it like to turn the reins over? Because you usually do most of the directing at Huntington, so how does that feel?
Not too hard, because that was my life before, so it's like putting on old shoes.
Right.
It's comfortable.
Right.
And actually, I like not having so much to worry about.
Right. Is there humor in the play?
Oh, tons.
There is.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of humor. It's situational humor, and also the way they talk.
Yes, Rothko has a very grandiose view of himself, which conflicts with Ken's more humble and quiet nature, and it's very humorous, certain situations they get into.
Who takes the biggest journey, Rothko or Ken? There's a director at the table.
Yeah. Well, it is Rothko's story, and it is he's going back and forth. Ken is the catalyst for that journey, I believe. It's the reason Logan wrote him. He struggles with this idea of commercialism and art.
Right.
And he doesn't stomach it well.
How do we get tickets? How do people get information about this production at Huntington?
Please call our box office. That's at 260-359. What is that?
4261.
Yes. Or our website at huntington.edu/theater.
Well, thank you both for joining me, and good luck on Red.
Thank you.
I'm John O'Connell, Dean of the IPFW College of Visual Performing Arts. Please join me next time on Arts Weekly, when I'll visit with Jeff Kazaza and Chance Parker from the IPFW Department of Theater's production of Gint. Then Jonathan Bissaro and Thomas Riemenschneider will be here to talk about the IPFW University Singers and Bach Collegium's upcoming concert. For up-to-the-minute arts updates, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And be sure to join us here live Thursday evenings at 7:30 on PBS 39. Thank you for watching Arts Weekly.